guys, welcome to Radical Self-Belief, the Mojo Maker podcast, and also here on YouTube. I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore, your host. If you haven't already, please jump on, like, subscribe, leave us your comments and reviews. We really, really appreciate it. And you'll find the podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcast, Amazon Music, Audible, and everything else. So that's Radical Self-Belief, the Mojo Maker podcast, and also here on YouTube. I haven't been posting videos on YouTube for a long time. I've been sort of busy dealing with some personal things, and then also bringing the book out. We're now on Booktopia. This is month September. So if you're listening to this at any time, it's not September 2021, then you'll still find it on Booktopia. But at the moment, we're doing a special pre-order t-shirt giveaway. Really cool Radical Self-Belief t-shirts. The first 100 pre-orders on Booktopia. So this is Radical Self-Belief. It is the essential roadmap to break up with overwhelm and get in the driver's seat of life. It's all my worksheets, models. It's got amazing interviews in it as well, and quotes and all sorts of tools that will have you going from chaos to calm with proven techniques that basically help you shift from checkpoint to checkpoint, ensuring that you can move into a new paradigm and move out of an old operating system which just isn't serving us anymore in today's landscape. I love it because for me, it's got a real rogue element and no BS element to it. It's based around a rally analogy or conditions or seasons or terrain. And to me, that's how life is. And that leads beautifully today for the segue of the topic of how do you deal and recover from stuff-ups or F-ups, as we want to call them. This is a PG show, so I can't swear too much here, but you know exactly what I'm getting at. So before we move on, Radical Self-Belief, my new book, very, very exciting. Pre-order now on Booktopia. The link is down below on the YouTube channel here. It's also in my Instagram and on the bio, nikkifogdenmoore.com, and you can check it out on the show notes for the podcast episode as well, 155 today. So thank you for those of you that have jumped on board. If you are sharing your radical self-belief pics, that you have been radically self-beliefalized, and you know someone that can do with some radical self-belief and you're sharing it, please forward us all those shares and likes and pics, because we're putting together some really cool thank you offers and some special campaigns to pay it forward and to give back and to show our gratitude for all your excitement around the practicality of this essential roadmap for sustainable success. So moving on from all the admin, it is September 2021, another ground zero in many, many ways. We've just moved through a memorial for one of the most important times in history of our modern world as well. And a lot of emotions have come up for everyone on top of what is already an uncertain time. Yet we're demanding from ourselves a better mindset, a better level of awareness, a better level of performance, a deeper understanding, an awakening, if you like, of how we show up as individuals during times of change, during times of uncertainty, and with the real actual inability to plan. Normally, we can make a 6-month, annual, 5-year plan, and you can have some projections as a business owner. You can kind of put together a forecast, if you like, for your life. You can set some goals and have some things to look forward to. But right now, the rug has been pulled out of all of our feet from underneath us, because it's made us really realize that who knows what's going to happen a day from tomorrow, a week from tomorrow, a year from tomorrow. And that is in a commercial and a metaphysical, emotional, and kind of a basic day-to-day living scenario for so many people on this planet. Today's topic is really about giving yourself a little bit of leeway and how to recover from making mistakes, and how to realize that this whole journey, this whole epicenter of mastering self, of this forced kind of lockdown of your own mental limiting beliefs, enables you to start trying out a new set of paradigms, a new set of tools, a new part of neuroplasticity, which allows you to shift into finding your happiness, finding out what really makes you tick, and understanding that it's not going to be perfect. Now, what's happening in today's world of everyone being awake, of understanding about doing the right thing, of finding justice, of finding your truth voice, of discovering what is important to you, of radical ownership, radical speech, radical truth, radical self-belief, is that sometimes what we can do is we can project this awakening, we can project this kind of need for truth and justice onto other people that might not even have the tools or the skills to receive it, hear it, or do it. So we have to give ourselves some strategies around how do you recover when, with the best intentions, you're just going to stuff up. You're never going to be able to please everybody. You cannot control how your conversation lands. You can try your best. You can practice the training wheels of good intent. You can try and be transparent. You can do all the rules of conscious decision making and conscious communication. And then sometimes you're just going to get it wrong. What happens is when getting it wrong actually paralyzes you from trying again, because that is just sitting back in the pain body. That's just trying to avoid conflict. That's just saying, why bother? That is just an excuse to keep you stuck in an old paradigm, because the first time you might have tried it, the first time you might have had a voice, the first time you might have had a sense of self and you wanted to advocate for that, it backfired on you. I just got to let you know that it's okay to F up. And it's what we do in that situation, whatever side of the fence you're on with that really is the defining moment. First of all, we seem to have a real problem giving genuine apologies. Heartfelt, I really fucked up, I'm really sorry, this isn't the right thing to do, I wasn't thinking, would you accept my apologies? Just a really simple, heartfelt apology. That is just the best place to come from. Having humility and grace in times of pressure is one of the most beautiful values you can bring to a situation like that. The flip side of that is you have to be willing to receive someone else's apology. You have to be willing to not add more fuel to the fire, to not amplify the mistake, to not make it worse, to not berate that person any further, and to actually accept that if that person did genuinely apologize, if the situation was a genuine mistake and not on purpose, then we have to be giving a little bit of latitude for people to learn as they go. If we don't create a safe place for people to show up and trip over and make mistakes while they're learning new paradigms, nobody's going to want to change, and we're going to end up in the avoidant, blame, shame, guilt society and the framework that's kept us stuck for so long. So if you're a parent, if you're a friend, if you're a partner, if you're a colleague, if you're a leader, if you're willing to apologize, it's also vitally important that those you're apologizing to are willing to listen. It is a two-way street. And I think at the moment, because we've got such a diverse understanding about neuroplasticity, mindset, positive thinking, mental health, the power of being yourself, of being genuine, is that sometimes we haven't had enough experience with that to know how to deal with it. So this little episode on today's show, 155, is trying to ascertain and give you a glimpse of how to deal with delivering your truth, what happens to recover when you've made a mistake, and how you walk through that process, and then ensuring that you don't stay in the city of suffering unnecessarily. That is very, very important. Moving through an emotion of, oh shit, I did something wrong, I better go and acknowledge that, and having the acuity to be able to say with humility, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean it like that. The fact is, you're not going to be able to control the other person's response, because what may have happened is your small mistake, which might have been huge to someone else, could have totally triggered an old wound, an old situation. So their response might be 10 times worse than what you even read latest, because you don't realize what's going on in someone's life. So all we can do, the fundamental rule for leading in life, is take care of your own side of the street. And that means no rubbernecking at what anyone else is doing, no projecting your newfound faith and wisdom onto anyone else. Great leaders lead by example. They show up when they've done something wrong, they explain the process, and they get back on the railroad tracks, giving a better and more robust way of moving forward. What we don't do is lean into causing more suffering and trying to create a bigger damage area than is necessary. And I think at the moment, because there's so much uncertainty going on and people are genuinely afraid, that fear paradigm is creating a construct where people are finding it really, really hard to feel grounded and clear and good in themselves. And that means it's even harder to see through a situation for what it really is. At the end of the day, we're not AI. We're not robots. We're not artificial intelligence. We have an emotional intelligence that is different by age, gender, experience. Everything else comes into it, and everyone is different. And that's different is really, really important to understand as any level of leadership in your own life, is that not everyone is going to have the same filter as you. However, when you have stuffed up and when you are in a situation that you're not proud of, it's okay to say, that really sucked, I'm really sorry, to own it, and then try and move forward. What we have a tendency to do then is to throw more mud on a problem. What we have a tendency to do in society is to shine a spotlight when people are down. Instead of reaching down to pick them up and say, that must have been really hard, you recovered really well, you said you're sorry, well done, that takes a lot of courage, we tend to put more mud on the problem, we tend to put more feet down on top of people, and we tend to create more conversation around the horrible things that have happened that everybody else is doing. And effectively, this creates so much more discord, distrust, and discomfort that's completely unnecessary. But as a society, we're often addicted to driving towards that area of suffering. So if you want to radically change this, you need to understand that not everyone's going to be at the same pace that you are. So having the bearings to put your own training wheels on and to start to try out coming from curiosity instead of fear, to create space to respond rather than to react, to not only own your truth, but understand the paradigms of delivering that truth in a way that's for you, not projected on needing someone else to create it or fix it for you. So it's very, very important. When we share our truth with someone else or a group or our team or our family, we shouldn't be sharing it because we need to project that truth onto others. We shouldn't be sharing it because we need other people to react in a certain way. It purely needs to be an ownership of what things are important to you, how you think, feel, need, and want. That is the paramount place to start from. If you start to try and deliver your truth in a martyrdom aspect and they expect everybody else to stand up with a card and start talking about their truth, it's going to be a horrible house of cards, because not everybody has the ability to receive truth, understand it, acknowledge it, or even own it. And I think this is the biggest thing at the moment. We've got so many more platforms for freedom of speech, but we really don't feel free at all to speak up because we're still navigating our own way between what is real and what isn't real. So as you're embarking on everyday life at the moment, whatever you're doing, if you're in lockdown with your family, if you're trying to run a business, if you're trying to restart an idea that you had 2 or 3 years ago, and you realize that you went to a safe and comfortable zone, but you wanted to breathe more life into it again, the first relationship you have to build is the most important one, and that's with yourself. That's understanding the facets of not only your emotional intelligence, but your physical and your metaphysical intelligence, trusting your inner self, understanding the GPS that guides you for good decisions based on intellect, but also heart trust, understanding that your subconscious is extremely clever. And I was chatting to Ryan Moody from ryanmoodyfishing.com today on the show. He's going to be on the podcast next week. And he was saying that when they started, they had thousands and thousands of positive comments, but the one negative troll comment would really stick in his brain, and it would make him feel terrible and reactive and trodden down and kind of, why is that person saying that? And rightly so, his wife Karen said, why focus on the one bad comment when there's thousands of brilliant comments? Because that's our subconscious addiction to looking for the pain, trying to avoid it, trying to not have to deal with it. And invariably, that's the very thing that you pick up. So if you're going to be navigating this new paradigm of figuring out who you are, getting your mindset in order, understanding conscious decision making, having the effect of quantum thinking, which is so, so powerful, and truly getting that neuroplasticity into going, I don't have to get my point across with force. I don't have to bully or to manipulate. I can just actually stand in a quiet space, and I might not get it right all the time, but if you know that you're coming from a heart-centered place of truth and honesty, you've got to go slow. You've got to be able to apologize when you might fuck it up a little bit. And then ultimately as well, you've got to be able to trust a group of people around you that are going to be able to receive the truth and bear with you on some of the mistakes and be there for you in all conditions and all climates. And that's a very, very rare group of people to have. But the more we can generate a society where trying is better than not even giving it a go, where failure isn't really a word, it's more about getting experience, where having energy and intent is far more important than playing it safe, and having compassion and emotional intellect is far more important than trying to put your ideals onto someone else. So if, for example, you've been triggered lately by someone, if a situation, a project, a person, a place, or a thing has completely set you off, ask yourself not what's wrong with that person, but why did that trigger you so much? How would you like to be treated if you made a mistake? What compassion, understanding, empathy, and genuine response would you like to receive if you apologize to someone? Why are you hanging on to the misery? Why do you want to focus on what's wrong? And why is that triggering you to a point to justify pushing someone down, making a situation worse, and being unable to forgive them? Because ultimately that really means there's a wound that you need to look at in yourself. As a human race, we're not here to pull each other down. We're not here to be better than anyone else. We're here to be robust, solid, individual pieces of the puzzle that all fit together to work in harmony in our own strength and integrity and sovereignty. That's where the real magic lies. If we keep trying to be like everyone else and fit in everyone else's piece of the puzzle, we're never going to work together. So having humility and grace and understanding is a two-way street. If someone around you has genuinely made a mistake, they really have honest, genuine remorse, and they took the courage to apologize, show up for that, and own it, please give them the dignity and the space that you would like in return if it happened to you, because you're going to make mistakes. You're not going to get everything perfect. You're not going to be absolute perfection as a leader. You're not going to hire the right teams all the time. You're not going to always say the right thing or do the right thing. We're human. We're going to have human errors. But that's where the magic lies, because that's where experience comes in. That's where the understanding of give and take comes in. That's where our deeper knowledge of what works and what doesn't work come in. And the big thing that I've learned lately is that understanding that as a leader, by default, it doesn't even matter how vulnerable you are, how exhausted you are, how many hours you work, you're still the leader and the buck still stops with you. And that is both a curse and a privilege, right? Because it's a huge responsibility. So whether we like it or not, whether you're a parent or you're a leader in your business, if you make a mistake because you're human, you're allowed to say sorry. And it's up to those that love you or your colleagues or your team to give you the room to go, yeah, I can understand that. Thank you for the genuine apology. Now can we move forward? The danger, I think, is when everyone wants to hang on to the issue. We want to stay stuck in the suffering. We want to push someone down when they're already down. The learning comes from experiences that we're not always proud of, but that's where our greatest assets and moments lie, and we become really good at being experienced. Experience isn't something you can download off the internet. It's not a diploma, it's not an MBA, it's not anything else but time in the field. It's thousands of hours of adulting, of gliding your way through life, of mastering self, of understanding who you are and becoming an expert in your own reality. And the most important thing is your radical self-belief. That no matter what goes on, you've got to make mistakes. It's what you do with it at that moment in time that defines your character. And then you can see how other people react. But it's not up to us to lecture. We can only lead by example and lead from within. And when you release yourself from that feeling of martyrdom, from fixing, managing everyone, to just making sure that you're doing the very best of yourself, you'll have a whole new sense of energy, of conviction, clarity, vision, and creativity you didn't even know existed. So the most important advice I'd give you today, if you're recovering from making a mistake, or you've been involved where someone might have hurt you or done something without ill intent and it just backfired completely, allow some room for genuine apologies to exist. Understand that making mistakes are a way of learning, becoming better at being a human. Provide a safe place for people to mess up, for kids to do something wrong and learn from it, and for colleagues and staff and friends and family to also make mistakes but to show up and apologize. We have to create a safe room for people to practice being in their truth. It's not always going to be pretty, but it's definitely going to be worth it. It always starts with home, and it's going to start with you. So guys, if you really like this topic, I know that Florente, my podcast editor, is probably going to have to bleep out some of those expletives that I've just said. But radical self-belief is putting you in the driver's seat. It means suiting up for a rally, not for a Formula One. It means understanding it's going to be all conditions and all terrain. The wheels are going to fall off. The tires are going to get flat. You're going to run out of fuel. And it's what you do in those moments and how you create a pit stop that really matters. That is your definition of character. Not what has happened to you, but what you do next. I tell you what, under pressure, sometimes we do the craziest things. But being able to smile and stand there with humility and grace, recognize what's been going on, and give everybody the attention and significance they deserve, but not the misery party, I think is really important. So if you've really loved this episode and you want to get your hands on radical self-belief, I would really love your support. This is on Booktopia, the link's below. Some really fantastic models in there as well, and we're coming out with an online course that'll be released in October, which is very, very, very exciting because I know that, I only take 10 coaching clients a year. So I cap it at 10 because I work deeply in the trenches with my clients and we do so much quantum work together. The other way to get through and to create a platform and models and coaching and mentoring is through the books, the podcast, and the online programs. They enable you to get access to the tools and models that I use frequently on a daily basis with my clients and the videos that I do with you as your coach, especially with these 12-week programs. So if you can't coach with me one-on-one, there are so many ways that you can get access to all the free content as well as the books, the programs, and everything else. And if you need some more information, you can always ask. Email Nikki at nikkifogden-moore.com, jump onto the website, sign up for Monday Mojo, and you'll get a free set of a short pack of worksheets that go with this book as well. We're here to make sure that you actually have all the tools to live your very best life in the most simplest, shortest, practical way possible that you can apply and repeat. There isn't a difficult recipe. It's about a mindset and understanding to replace your curiosity and keep working on that. Ensure that your curiosity is replacing your fear. Fear is a natural state. It's something that's handy, but it's also something that can be a huge handbrake and keep you paralyzed from moving and stuck in a state of inertia. So, the most important thing you can do from this episode is understand that we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. If you have good intent, you take your time, you press pause, and you understand the next right thing to do, keep growing and keep evolving. But it's time to move out of our outdated paradigm of blame, shame, guilt, and fear. Really, really important. Because at that point, we can shift into accountability, awareness, action, and acknowledgement of how great this life really is. So you're responsible for being a super strong part of the biggest puzzle in the world. That's all of us together. You're only responsible to make sure that all the edges of your own puzzle are strong and complete and whole. All the facets of you as a person, all your skills, your ideas, your personality, the things that make you who you are. That's what needs to be strengthened. So I hope this has really, really inspired you today. Thanks for joining me on the show and for coming back to my YouTube channel, Vitality Coach TV. Hop on to nikkifogden-moore.com. Come and subscribe to my email list. For my musings, podcasts, quotes, and all sorts of free things as well, and some amazing guests that we've had on the show and coming up this year. To those of my clients that have worked extremely hard this year, you're always astounding me with your incredible leadership and the impact we're making across this planet. Like, it's crazy. And to those of you that have bought the book and pre-ordered and been on my courses and are a part of this tribe, what an incredible community we're creating. So I'm Nikki Fogden-Moore. I'm the host of Radical Self-Belief, the Mojo Maker podcast. You're listening here through iTunes or Spotify or Google or Amazon or Audible, or you're on my YouTube channel. Thank you for showing up with me today. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'd love a review. And until next time, remember, you are in the driver's seat of life. You stay healthy, wealthy, and wise. Thanks so much for tuning in. Like and subscribe on YouTube, and also would love to have you come over and subscribe to Radical Self-Belief, the podcast. We hope you've reignited your vision and showing you how to harness your effortless energy to be the CEO of your business as well as your life.